Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
And good morning, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today we have some highlights, of course, from last night, as well as some injury updates on Blake Griffin, a record night for Russell Westbrook to discuss, as well as a lot of wins around the NBA. One, and of course, that I'm more excited about than the others, if you may guess. And then I do want to get into some feelings that Coach Kerr did have in regards to the All-Star game and the voting that took place this time around. And then I do want to, of course, jump into the new updated rankings for college basketball. So we have a lot of little things to discuss today as we get ready to start this episode of the podcast. So first, let's just jump into the scores from last night. So to start us off, we had the Washington Wizards, who went to go visit the Charlotte Hornets. They defeated the Wizards 109-99. Markieff Morris, he had a nice game last night for the Wizards. 23 points. He had 8 rebounds, 2 assists to, round off his night for the Wizards. The Hornets, Cody Zeller, 13 points, just 1 rebound shy of a double-double. 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. So not bad for him as well. I love another true center for the Hornets. I'm pretty... I like true centers. I enjoy the way that basketball is being played today, but I love a true center. The Spurs went to go see the Brooklyn Nets, defeating them, of course. I don't know. The Spurs are 19-4 away, whereas the Hornets are only 7-16 at home. So, and you're playing the Spurs. So we could have guessed that one. 112-86. LaMarcus Aldridge for the Spurs. He had 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Not bad. Sean Kilpatrick for the Brooklyn Nets. He had 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 assist. So again, you could do well just like Sean did. He had a great game. However, the Spurs, it's just a tried and true team. That's just the brand of the Spurs. Then the Clippers went to go visit Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks last night, defeating them 115-105. So 10 points in that win for the Clippers. Austin Rivers had 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists for the Clippers. So Chris Paul, an update on him. He did have his surgery on his thumb, for those of you guys that don't know. So he is expected to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So they're definitely going to make that transition as far as not having Chris Paul for about a month and a half, possibly 2 months, if things go well in his favor. And then last night, the Warriors went to go see the Heat. Now, the Warriors have been on this winning streak, which is totally fine. It's great. And you need, on the other hand, there's always going to be a team out there looking to, mess that up. And for the Warriors last night, it was the Heat. The Warriors beat them. The Heat beat the Warriors 102-105. Kevin Durant posted a nice game of 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. It was a pretty good game. The Heat did a good job of not allowing the Warriors to get too comfortable in the second half and run away with it. So they did a really good job of making sure not to let the Warriors allow the game to get out of reach. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So the Heat did a really good job not letting the Warriors run away with that. And Dion Waiters, the man of the night for the Heat, 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists for my guy Dion. So he had a great game. I know he's happy as he went to sleep and woke up this morning to, and not only end that winning streak for the Warriors, but to post up the winning shot for his Heat. So that's pretty nice. And then the Kings, like I said, there's one game that I'm particularly excited about, and it was the Kings and the Pistons. Now, you guys know that my Kings have been kind of in this slump for a little while, but they defeated the Pistons 109-104. DeMarcus, 22 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. I'm telling you, when DeMarcus decides he wants to play, it's not that bad of a game for us. And then Reggie Jackson for the Detroit Pistons, 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 11 assists. So not bad for that point guard out there in Detroit. The Houston Rockets went to go see the Milwaukee Bucks, lost to them on the road, 114-127. So, again, not bad of a game. James Harden had a double-double. He was just one shy of recording another triple-double. He had 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists. So, not bad. Not a bad game for James Harden. Again, for the Houston Rockets. Jabari Parker was allowed to play. I don't know if you guys have been hearing what's going on with Milwaukee Bucks and Jabari Parker. So he did sit out the other day, and that was agreed upon. That was kind of like a team imposed sanction for Jabari Parker because of some words that he had with the media following a game. He was just a little bit perturbed after a conversation that he had in the locker room, something that the team felt should have stayed only within team bounds and should have just stayed within the team and amongst the teammates and the staff there. So he did miss that game, but last night he was allowed to play. He was, 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. So he came off out of that little, whatever you want to call it, that suspension, that sanction that they had for him, which, some of you guys may agree, some of you guys may not. I don't know. The Bucks are 21-23 overall. They're 13-10 at home. So not a terrible record right now, but I don't know if you're going to have a team imposed sanction. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one, honestly. But that's what they decided and that's what happened. So, okay, moving on to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Pelicans. Now, the Cavaliers went to go to New Orleans, lost to them 122-124. So it was a great game, high scoring game. Kyrie Irving, he had 49 points. So he was doing his thing, 49 points, 2 rebounds. He only had 4 assists, so a little bit selfish last night. Not bad, though. And then Drew Holiday of the Pelicans, 33 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. So he made sure not only to stay involved with that game and to, rack up some points for himself, but he made sure to get his teammates involved with that 10 assists, and that's pretty much what did it for the Pelicans against the Cavaliers last night. And then the New York Knicks needed a win last night to kind of keep their morale. I don't even know if it boosted their morale, but it really just made sure that they did not fall too much deeper into a slump. They beat the Pacers last night 109-103. Carmelo Anthony, 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists for our guy Carmelo. Paul George, who has continued on having great seasons, but continually bettering himself since his injury. 31 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. So a great game for Paul George. And then to wrap up the evening and wrap up this little portion of the episode, the OKC Thunder defeated Utah Jazz 97-95. Our guy, Russell Westbrook, 38 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. So another triple-double, and I'll tell you guys why that is significant in just a moment. And then Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz, he had 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist. So a great game from Rudy. However, it just wasn't enough to get the job done against Russell, who I'm sure is feeling a little bit slighted in regards to the All-Star game, and it's all going on with him, but I'm going to tell you why his night last night was so important and another notch on his belt for himself. So with that, though, I am going to take it to a quick break. When we come back, I have some injury updates. I have to tell you guys about Steve Kerr, Coach Kerr, and why he is a little bit disappointed in all of these guys since the All-Star vote, as well as, like I said, just some more news coming up. I don't know why I just lost my train of thought right there, but Russell Westbrook, why that was significant and moving forward. And then we also have some college basketball news to discuss. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm Pauline, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and so I wanted to jump into a little bit more of the All-Star talk, because we discussed it yesterday about how, for some reason, which, I mean, I get it, especially when you are playing your heart out, you're doing well, you're having a phenomenal season, and it's come time to the All-Star vote, and that's something that I would assume every player in the NBA wants to at least make the roster once in their career, right? So I get it, but at the same time, a lot of these guys, and I said this in yesterday's episode, get really upset and take it really personally. Not a problem. So in a way, the NBA kind of tried to, in a way, solve this problem by giving some voice to the players for themselves, kind of like that for us, by us type mentality. So they were allowed to vote. And so half of it was made up again. So for those that you don't know, that the change this season was half of it was still fan voting, but then there was also the allowance of players voting as well as coaches voting. Now, the tiebreakers would be made, so if you had the same amount of votes, tiebreakers would be based upon the fan vote. So there are some players that perhaps would have gotten it as far as starter positions or whatever, but because they might be a little bit more favorable in the eyes of fans, then you would get that tiebreaker. You would break that tie. Now, the thing that I wanted to discuss today was, so Golden State coach Steve Kerr is very upset with, and if you guys have listened to his recent interview, he's very upset at the players making a mockery now of the All-Star game. And so what happened is that and the reason why he's calling it a mockery, so basically I quote, this is Steve Kerr: "I am very disappointed in the players. They asked for a vote, and a lot of them just made a mockery of it. I don't know what the point is." So they're mad because they think that it's rigged, or it's not correct, or it should be different because it's just fan votes, and fans are just going to vote for the most popular guy, not necessarily the best skills guy. It could just be somebody who is just marketed better, somebody who's the face of their franchise, somebody who just happens to just be favorable. And that's what I was talking about in yesterday's episode with Steph Curry versus Russell Westbrook getting that starting position. Steph Curry right now is kind of like the golden child of the NBA. And not bad, not wrong, not good, not bad. That's just how it is. And Russell's kind of like the bad guy. And no matter how hard and no matter how well he plays, we've kind of have that mentality, that picture in our head of what these guys are like. And so I think that's one reason why, because and some people really do vote. Some fans do vote for players based upon skill, based upon the season that they've had, improvement, all of that. But then there are some fans that are like, oh, I'm just going to vote for this guy because he's my favorite, or I'm just going to vote for him because I like I like his shoes. And I'm not going to lie, my nephew, he votes. He's only 8. And he knows and understands basketball and he loves it. But as a kid, you're still going to go for your favorite player, whether he's having a great game statistically or a great season statistically or not. You're just going to. So anyway, so back to the All-Star voting. So there are only 324 players actually participated in the vote. So only 324, the guys, and 100 players. So about 100 players got only one vote, which means you either voted for yourself and you just wrote down your own name, or your friend and you said, oh, that's like me and Ben saying, okay, Ben, I'm going to write down your name, and Ben, you write down my name. So we're not really voting for ourselves, but at least we're going to get one vote, right? And then for example, which, I mean, it's fine. You could vote for whoever you want to. But again, so about 100 guys got only one vote. And included in that is like Mo Williams. He had one vote on the All-Star ballot, and he hasn't even played at all this season. So stuff like that. And then he said, so again, I quote Coach Kerr, I saw the list. I saw all the guys who got votes. There were 50 guys on there who had no business getting votes, although a lot of people wrote in their buddies in the presidential vote as well. So maybe that's just their own way of making a statement. I think if you're going to give the players a vote, I think they should take it seriously, which is true. Because you can't sit here and get mad and say that we want the voting process to change. We want the process of selection to change. And then when you're given the opportunity to do that, then you just write down your own name. But then again, I guess if you're not your biggest fan, who's going to be your biggest fan, right? Isaiah Thomas just said that he believes that he is the best player in the world. He thinks he's the best player out there, which arguably he's had a better season. He's been improving this season, but the best player, I don't know. I don't even think the best player in his position. But when you have guys like Anthony Davis who are leading in different categories when they can barely play 2-3 games in a row, you have guys like LeBron, you guys have guys like Steph, Clay. I don't know as far as best player in the world, Zay, but you're definitely great. You know, he's doing a lot for Boston, but I wouldn't go. But then, like I said, if you're not going to vote for yourself, who's going to vote for you, right? But so that is why Coach Steve, he's a little bit upset. He's a little bit annoyed. He thinks that it's ridiculous what these guys did. And like I said, if you think that you want to make a change, why not? But, you know, Mo Williams, he hasn't even played. And that's, I don't know, I guess that's kind of like a waste of a vote. But then moving on, so I wanted to jump into the injury update for Blake Griffin. So Blake is suspected to play actually tonight. It could be tonight as the Clippers face up against the 76ers in Philadelphia. So we're going to definitely anticipate that. He had his first full contact workout this past Friday. So just this weekend, more than just, you know, running and shooting, he actually played, full contact in his workout. So that was definitely good. He's excited. He is very much looking forward to this because he's been sitting out 18 games. So I'm sure he's just itching to play. And especially with the Clippers having Chris Paul, he, again, I repeat, had that surgery on Wednesday last week. So the Clippers are actually 3-7 this season when playing without both Chris and Blake. So they could definitely use Blake coming in and having a good start and jump off as he returns back from his knee surgery. So, and with that, I'm going to jump to my next break, my last break of the episode. When we come back, I'm going to tell you why it was such a great night for Russell Westbrook last evening with that triple-double, as well as give you a recap of college basketball and college news. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. And to wrap up this episode, I wanted to touch base on what's going on with Russell Westbrook. So last night, his team defeated the Utah Jazz 97-95. But the thing about it was that with his 38 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, he recorded his 59th career triple-double. So he is now officially tied with the great Larry Bird for the 5th most triple-doubles of all time. So he's on a mission. I told you guys that it's not going to fall off. I know that Ben was kind of thinking that especially his rebounds, that category, would kind of slump down as the season progressed. And I told you guys, he's mad. He's mad at everyone. So he's taking his frustrations out on the court. So he recorded that 59th triple-double, tied at number 5. So we'll see. We'll see. There's a couple, more guys ahead of him, 4 guys ahead of him. Oscar Robertson still sitting nicely at the top, but Russell could tie a record with the great Oscar if he averages a triple-double for the entire season. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep you guys updated. Now moving on to college basketball. So number 3 Gonzaga went to go see Portland last night, defeated them easily. 83-64. Gonzaga is still 8-0 in conference play, so they're doing well. Unfortunately, Portland is 2-6 in conference play. Then we had number 17 Duke. They hosted North Carolina State, lost to them 84-82. So, just because you're going up against a top 25 team doesn't mean that you can't get that win. And as we saw right there with that. And so I wanted to give you guys also kind of like an update, because I love that we get, and we talk about this each week, but with the rankings, and depending on how your team has played in the last 7 days depends upon your new ranking. So Villanova has secured that number 1 spot again. We have Kansas, the Kansas Jayhawks, sitting nicely at number 2. Gonzaga, like I said, number 3 on both the AP and coaches poll in the top 25. The Kentucky Wildcats, number 4. Baylor, sitting at number 5. Florida State, number 6. The Arizona Wildcats, number 7. UCLA Bruins, they... not bad at number 8. Their record right now is 19-2 overall. North Carolina Tar Heels, they're sitting at number 6 with a record of 18-3. Then the Oregon Ducks wrap up that top 10 of the rankings. Their record is actually 18-2. So Villanova and Kansas, they're up there, number 1 and 2. No more tie at number 7 like it was last week. But so Villanova right now is 19-1 overall. And then we have Kansas sitting with a record of 18-1. But Gonzaga, they are still undefeated. They are 20-0 overall, still undefeated. But again, depending on who you're playing, the strength of your conference, who's playing who else, who's beating who else, kind of, slips up with that. And the interesting thing is that between the AP and coaches poll, Gonzaga is number 3 on both of those. The only difference in the top 3 is that the AP poll has Villanova sitting at number 1, whereas the coaches poll has them at number 2. So Kansas and Villanova are swapped with the coaches poll versus the AP poll having it Villanova, Kansas, and Gonzaga for that top 3 rankings in the NCAA. So that was that portion. And then I want to jump into and give you guys a preview of what is to come tonight as far as basketball is concerned. And a lot of our top 25 teams are playing tonight, so that makes it a lot more fun, and it's always a good evening when you can watch some of these great games and some of these strong teams against one another. So we have Auburn going to visit number 23 South Carolina tonight, which is going to be a great game. So South Carolina is 5-1 in conference, so of course they're expected to win, but like we saw last night, it's not like you can't beat a top 25 team. Kansas, number 2 Kansas is going to go visit number 18 West Virginia, so 2 top 25 teams facing off tonight, and Kansas is actually 7-0 in Big 12 play, whereas West Virginia, not bad, 4-3 in conference play. So again, the favorites are picked to be Kansas, but we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be on ESPN tonight. And then we have Rutgers going to see number 22 Maryland. And I'm really interested to watch that game, actually, because I like Maryland. I do. So I'm glad they're still hanging on in there with that number 22 slot. Purdue is number 20. They're going to go see not ranked Michigan State. So that's going to be on ESPN2 for those of you who are interested in watching that game with Caleb and Nick Ward of Washington State. Louisville, number 13, is going to go see Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania tonight. Louisville is 4-3 in ACC play, whereas Pittsburgh is 1-5. So it's going to be one of those games where Pittsburgh is definitely going to have to give it their all tonight. Then another matchup between 2 top 25 teams. We have number 12 Virginia going to visit number 14 Notre Dame. That's going to be on that's not on ESPN, so you're going to have to definitely look into that if you want to watch that one, stream it online, something like that. Listen to the radio. I actually enjoy listening to basketball games on the radio. I don't know, I just do. It's a lot more fun. I think it's another thing where I can do other things, like I can eat dinner, I can wash dishes, fold clothes, and I can still listen to what's going on and keep up with the game when the radio is playing on in the background. But anyway, so number 1 Villanova is going to go see Marquette tonight. Marquette is 4-3 in the Big East, whereas Villanova is 7-1. Kentucky, number 4, is going to see Tennessee tonight and try to keep with that conference, being undefeated in conference. So hopefully they can hold off that win. But then again, Tennessee might be the team to give it to them. They're 3-4 in the conference. But hey, if there's a team to beat, that's the team. And then we have Penn State going to visit number 15 Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. Penn State is 3-4 in the Big Ten, whereas Wisconsin is 5-1. So, they got that home court advantage, but we'll see what happens with that game there. And so that's going to do it for the episode. I'm your host, Pauline. Ben will be in tomorrow to give you guys some updates on what's been happening tonight. And so we'll see you guys tomorrow. You have been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. And like I said, I'm Pauline, and I'll see you guys next time.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.